Right. Okay, so today, our source material, it focuses entirely on the results from round 1, group 212 of this quest.
And this group was a true clash of eras and genres. I mean, 4 albums that really could not be more different.
Let's list them out. First up, we had Odyssey by Take That.
Okay, Pop Legacy. Then Corporate America by Boston.
70s melodic rock icons, big shift.
Then Discovering the Waterfront by Silverstein.
Right, Canadian screamo from the 2000s, completely different vibe.
And finally, Where Our Love Grows by Swing Out Sister.
And back to that sort of 80s-inspired pop jazz sound.
Yeah. I mean, what's immediately striking is just that contrast, isn't it? Forced by the random draw.
Totally. You've got 90s pop legacy right up against 70s rock, then 2000s screamo, then this pop jazz thing. The album quest doesn't care about your preferred genre.
No.
It just cares about which listening experience holds up best when you really scrutinize it relentlessly.
Okay, let's unpack this journey then, because the analysis that came with the winner of Group 212, which was Take That's Odyssey,
Yeah.
it's an absolute masterclass in personal musical reconciliation.
It really is. The author describes his connection to Take That's, long and winding career as being inexplicably linked. He even uses the phrase quantum entanglement. That depth of feeling, it suggests that judging the album wasn't just about the music itself. It was like judging a significant part of their own personal history.
So where did this connection start? It wasn't always positive, was it?
Oh, definitely not. The story starts with his initial stance back in the early 90s. Pure, aggressive disdain.
Right.
Take That represented, in his mind anyway, the antithesis of a good band. The classic critique, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't play instruments, couldn't write music.
Just pranced around. That's the quote.
Exactly, just pranced around. It's that sort of intellectual high ground that, serious adolescent music fans often take against manufactured pop.
We've all been there, maybe.
Probably. But this disdain, it turned out to be unsustainable. The source details how the sheer momentum of their hits forced this slow conversion.
Which hits are we talking about?
Well, tracks like Sure Babe, Back for Good, A Million Love Songs, and Never Forget, they just kept coming. And it was overwhelming evidence that maybe beneath the boy band packaging, there was some serious melodic invention happening.
So the adolescent ego had to kind of confront the reality.
Yeah, that the songwriting craft, as he put it, was potent and persistent. You couldn't just ignore it.
And this turning point, it's pinned to a specific year, right? 1994.
Yes, 1994. Which the source describes as a year of 2 crucial simultaneous epiphanies.
Okay.
And the fact that the author connects these 2 moments, that for me is the real aha moment of this whole deep dive.
So what was the first epiphany?
Right. The first one was watching his intense, fundamental hatred for Sir Alex Ferguson and his dominant Manchester United football team.
The classic sporting rivalry.
Exactly. The antithesis of everything he loved in sports. Watching that hatred slowly dissolve into this grudging admiration and respect, just acknowledging undeniable excellence and longevity.
Okay, I see the parallel coming.
You got it. The second epiphany, happening almost at the same time, was the identical dissolution of his disdain for himself.
Oh, wow.
That total rejection turned into this cold acceptance, he calls it, that Gary Barlow wasn't just talented, he was a superb songwriter. And maybe, just maybe, a really nice chap to boot.
That psychological link is fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. It suggests that abandoning a core, deeply held belief in this case, that popular manufactured success is inherently bad. It's maybe easier when you have a parallel experience happening at the same time.
Like a validation for changing your mind.
Precisely. If you can admit Alex Ferguson's genius, even if you hate Man United, well, maybe you can admit Gary Barlow's talent too. Both required him to, swallow significant pride and just acknowledge competence overriding his personal taste, or that tribal loyalty we get with music and sports.
But of course, the Take That story doesn't end there.
Not at all. Then came the split, the inevitable dark years.
And the source mentions, kind of humorously, the special trauma hotline set up for fans.
Yeah, and quickly adds that he, the author, definitely didn't need it.
Right. And that split, it fueled the next big chapter, didn't it? The rivalry.
The Robbie Williams versus Gary Barlow rivalry. And this is where the author initially planted his flag firmly in the wrong soil.
He backed Barlow.
He backed Barlow, even bought the Open Road album on cassette, which is such a wonderfully specific detail, really grounds the memory. He firmly believed Barlow was the true genius and Robbie was, quote, merely the fat dancer from Take That.
Ouch. That didn't age well.
No, that initial conviction was costly. While Barlow kind of disappeared into obscurity, trying a solo career with pretty minimal success.
Robbie went supernova.
Absolutely. Released massive, enduring pop classics, Angels, Let Me Entertain You, South of the Border, just huge hits.
So the author had to do another U-turn.
Another painful 180-degree reversal, realizing Robbie was the superior showman, the capable pop star in that moment. It must have been, well, kind of humiliating to have his initial musical predictions so thoroughly and publicly invalidated like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. But that experience being so definitively wrong, it sets the stage for the comeback, doesn't it?
It provides the necessary context, exactly.
Right.
Because the underlying belief in Barlow's fundamental songwriting talent, it clearly lingered somewhere.
Right.
And the source describes feeling this genuine, unexpected happiness when, in 2006, they heard the track Patience on the radio.
Patience. Great song.
Incredible song. And realizing this sophisticated pop song was actually Take That, primarily written by Barlow, it was a vindication in a way.
So let's get into Odyssey itself then, because it's not just a greatest hits, is it?
No, not at all. It features a significant amount of new or post-reunion material. And the source argues pretty strongly that the newer songs like Giant, Spin, Cry, Greatest Day, Rule the World, they actually rival or maybe even surpass their original 90s output.
In terms of what? Melodic maturity, complexity.
Exactly that. Melodic maturity, complexity. And that's the analytical crux of why Odyssey won this group in the album quest.
Because some might say a compilation has an unfair advantage.
They might. But the source's repeated listening highlighted the consistency of that songwriting legacy. If you really analyze the craft Barlow showed in the 2000s, tracks like Patience, they're structurally more mature than the early 90s stuff.
How so?
Well, they use more complex harmonies, a more sophisticated layering of sound. It goes beyond the typical verse-chorus-verse structure of classic boy band pop. It really showcases a composer who evolved, confirming that Barlow's talent wasn't just, a flash in the pan, it was enduring.
So Odyssey takes first place. It leverages this legacy of undeniable songwriting, but it's also underpinned by this whole narrative of personal transformation and acceptance from the listener.
Yeah, it proved its coherence and strength under that intense scrutiny.
And that unwavering quality, that craftsmanship, it leads us nicely to the runner-up, doesn't it? Securing second place and moving on to the next round.
It does. Corporate America by Boston, which shows that endurance can also be found in, high technical precision and meticulous sonic architecture.
Yeah. This album is described as the very definition of smooth, melodic rock and roll. But there's a paradox pointed out.
What's that?
It's called jazz-like in its smoothness, featuring lush, Beach Boy-esque harmonies. But then the caveat, there's probably not much actual rock and roll left. Not in the traditional aggressive sense anyway.
Okay, to understand that, you really have to recognize the Boston sound, which is just so tied to Tom Scholz.
The main guy, the guitarist, the producer.
Everything. He's famous for his technical wizardry, those layered, saturated guitar tones, the complex, multi-tracked vocals, all designed to create this massive, almost symphonic soundscape.
And the Beach Boys comparison.
That refers to those incredibly dense vocal harmonies, often four-parted, sometimes more, achieved through just meticulous studio work, giving it that polished, almost perfect pop sheen on top of the rock foundation.
And the source highlights the rarity factor, too, which I love. Boston albums are almost as scarce as
Public Appearances by Kate Bush. Yeah, it's a fantastic cultural reference.
It really underscores just how deliberate, how slow Scholz is in releasing new material. This album, Corporate America, came out in 2002.
And it was only their fifth studio album, stretching over nearly 3 decades at that point. It's incredible, really.
And it had historical significance within the band, too, didn't it? Lineup changes.
Yes. It marked the introduction of Fren Cosmo and Kimberly Dahm. And tragically, it was the final appearance of the original iconic vocalist Brad Delp before his death in 2007.
Right. And the source mentioned Dami's contribution specifically.
Yeah, her female vocals and harmonies were described as quite beautiful, adding this new layer to the standard Boston vocal sound.
And she had her own song on there.
She did, with You, which stood out as this distinct non-Boston folk effort. It showed Scholz was willing to, introduce some new compositional palettes, even if just slightly.
But overall, the feeling was that the famous Boston technique was maybe a bit dialed back.
That was the observation. Scholz's known high-tech guitar arrangement seemed somewhat subdued on this record. If you were listening hoping for the huge, stadium-filling riffs of, say, More Than a Feeling...
You might be disappointed.
You might. The source noted that Cryin is really the exception. It offers the only actual guitar solo on the album. Elsewhere, you only get flashes of what you'd call serious riffage.
So why is that important in the context of the album quest? What does it suggest?
Well, it suggests perhaps a deliberate choice by Schultz, maybe prioritizing melody and message over just technical exhibitionism this time around. That traditional aggressive crunch of rock seems replaced by this meticulous, almost instrumental smoothness, designed really to carry the vocal melodies and the lyrical themes.
And that focus on message comes through strongly in the title track, right? Corporate America.
Undeniably, the author flagged that as the album's strongest effort. It's a classic melodic rock anthem, but it carries this really pointed socio-political critique.
Let's dig into that relevance. It talks about the dangers of globalism, industrial exploitation.
Exactly. And the source, writing this review, remember 2 decades after the album's release, explicitly noted that this theme is, quote, even more prevalent in the forefront of people's minds today.
That's quite something.
Think about the timing. The album came out not long after the rise of major anti-globalization movements. Schultz wasn't just writing love songs. He was dedicating a track to criticizing massive industrial conglomerates and their environmental impact.
So it's the enduring relevance of that track packaged in that melodic rock sound that helps secure its place.
I think so. It demonstrates that rock music can be politically conscious without losing its foundational melodic appeal. And it provided a really strong counterpoint to the pure emotional legacy of the Take That album.
Okay, so we have the pop evolution of Take That and the technically pristine, socially relevant rock of Dawson moving forward, which means we need to turn to the 2 albums that didn't make the cut.
Right. And this is where that competitive structure of the album quest really shows its teeth. It can be brutal.
How so?
Well, these albums, if you listen to them in isolation, they might be perfectly fine, maybe even great additions to a playlist. But when you pit them directly against the relentless consistency of the top 2,
The weaknesses stand out more.
they become illuminated by the contrast, yeah.
Okay, so coming in 3rd place, just missing out, was Discovering the Waterfront, the Canadian screamo band Silverstein.
Oh, yeah, and the author had clearly heard their earlier work, When Broken is Easily Fixed.
And they were pretty fair, noting this second album was a definite improvement.
It's kind of the story of a band evolving their sound, getting better, but maybe not quite hitting that universally appealing quality marker needed for this particular quest.
The critique was balanced, though.
It was. While there was still, quote, too much unnecessary shouting, which, is a hallmark of the genre that can get grating on repeated listens, and a few maybe bland numbers.
The musicianship was better.
Significantly improved, yeah. Especially the guitar arrangements. They were used much more effectively on tracks like Smile in Your Sleep and The Ides of March. They seem to move beyond just simple power chords into more intricate melodic lines.
And production-wise?
That stepped up too. Better production values, adding necessary clarity and punch to tracks like My Heroine and Call It Karma. It suggests the band matured pretty quickly in their recording approach between albums.
And there was a humorous point made about their song titles.
Yes. One of the most unexpected but kind of delightful nuggets in the source material was the author's appreciation for Silverstein's flair for highly expressive song names.
Which ones did they mention?
Things like Fist Wrapped in Blood and Your Sword V's My Dagger.
Okay, very evocative.
Right. And the author quipped that Beethoven and Strauss could learn a lot from these guys. Which is funny, but it also shows he wasn't just dismissing the genre out of hand. He appreciated the theatrical, maybe slightly overwrought personality that screamo bands often inject into their track titles.
But was there a standout track that almost got him through?
There was. Already Dead. The author describes it as melodic heavy rock, and interestingly noted it sounded heavily inspired by Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden?
How so? Particularly its melodic center and maybe the instrumental complexity. That comparison suggests, a galloping rhythm, maybe a sophisticated guitar counterpoint, providing a hook underneath the aggressive vocals.
But there was another comparison, too.
Yeah, the same track was also described as seemingly aping the concept of AC/DC's Night Prowler.
Interesting. So maybe a dark, stalking narrative quality to the lyrics, focusing on a character or scenario.
That's likely it. That ability to blend that sort of melodic metal complexity with a hard rock narrative feel, that's what gave Silverstein a fighting chance. But at the end of the day, it fell well short of the top 2 in terms of overall staying power through those repeated listens.
Okay, which brings us to the 4th place finisher, eliminated definitively.
Where Our Love Grows by Swing Out Sister. And this album, well, it firmly maintained their trademark pop jazz style.
And the big issue here, according to the source, was
Its immediate sense of being dated. The author's initial impression across the first couple of forced listens was that it was an 80s album.
seriously, even though it came out much later.
Yeah. The sound production was apparently so retro that it took him 3 or 4 full spins to realize it must be more contemporary. He finally identified the throbbing synth pseudo-alarm on certain shades of Limelight as the subtle modern giveaway.
A throbbing synth pseudo-alarm. Okay, so that dated sound, it comes down to production choice.
It seems so. We're likely talking about, period-specific synth pads, maybe a reliance on certain drum machine sounds, perhaps those early digital echoes that defined late 80s sophisticated pop. Stuff that was intended to be smooth then, but now just sounds distinctly historical.
And the core critique wasn't that the music was actively bad.
No, not bad, just too pleasant. And lacking necessary tension or intrigue for this kind of listening, the author noted each song was pleasant enough. It had just enough pop structure to stop it from descending into what he accurately called a dreary jam session.
Which can happen with that style sometimes.
Absolutely. The opening tracks, Love Won't Let You Down, and the title track, they got praise for having catchy melodies. And Corinne Drury's vocals were described as soft agreeable.
But soft agreeable isn't enough in the album quest arena.
That's precisely its fatal flaw in this competitive environment. The music just doesn't seize your attention. It almost encourages your mind to wander.
So the final analysis.
The album doesn't do a lot wrong, technically, but in the context of the album quest, it critically flirts with boredom if you let your mind wander. It failed that test of repeated, active listening. There just wasn't enough harmonic complexity or rhythmic variation or compositional tension to really justify its length under scrutiny.
It didn't have that grand, impressive quality.
Exactly. Nothing that forces you to pay attention. And therefore, it failed to break out of the group.
Okay, let's synthesize all this then. Can you recap the final rankings for Group 212?
Sure. So, number 1, Advancing, Odyssey by Take That.
Number 2, also advancing, Corporate America by Boston.
Number 3, Eliminated, Discovering the Waterfront by Silverstein.
And number 4, also eliminated, Where Our Love Grows by Swing Out Sister.
That's the final result.
So if we step back now and analyze what these results tell us about the listener's criteria, maybe even their unconscious criteria, what patterns emerge?
Well, there's a pretty clear pattern, I think. High production value and strong, enduring, time-tested songwriting. The kind established by decades of successful output from Gary Barlow and Tom Scholz that absolutely trumped niche genre loyalty.
Like the Screamo of Silverstein.
Exactly. Or that pleasant, but ultimately maybe a bit bland pop jazz of Swing Out Sister. Craftsmanship and legacy won out here.
And the methodology itself, the album quest, its major revelation, seems to be how it forces that confrontation with your own biases.
Absolutely. That repeated listening required the author to reconcile his past hatred of Take That. He had to grudgingly admit that the sheer quality and consistent craft of Barlow's music provided a stronger, more coherent, and ultimately more emotionally resonant experience than the competing, highly specific genres in that group.
It's a really remarkable evolution of taste under pressure, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you think about his personal narrative, the embarrassment of backing Barlow's early solo stuff over Robbie's success, it all feeds into this final, almost triumphant acceptance of Odyssey. The album isn't just music at that point. It feels like narrative closure for the listener himself.
That's a great way to put it. And if you look at the 2 winning albums side by side, Take That and Boston, you see 2 entirely different versions of quality prevailing, don't you?
How do you mean?
Well, Take That offered that pure emotional resonance, a celebration of pop legacy that managed to overcome decades of the author's critical baggage.
Right. While Boston offered technical precision, that sonic architecture, coupled with this deep, relevant socio-political commentary.
Exactly. The smooth, melodic presentation of those critical themes about globalism in corporate America, it ensures that track still retains impact today. It really proves the source's point that its message might be even more powerful now.
It's a fantastic juxtaposition, isn't it? One album succeeds on the weight of decades of emotion and personal history.
And the other succeeds on the weight of enduring intellectual relevance and critique.